Hello class. Today we're going to be discussing the properties of water, specifically polarity, cohesion, and adhesion. This is in continuing as we learn about the different aspects and importance of water. We're going to start today with just going back into your science knowledge and just making sure that everyone's at the same place with what we know about water and science in general. So we're going to start off with a question, and we're going to ask, what is the difference between an element and a compound? And you can use the image to the right to show you a little bit about what that might be. So the difference between an element and a compound. So an element is a substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substances, and it has specific properties. Each has a chemical symbol, such as O for oxygen, N for nitrogen, C for carbon, Fe for iron, and Cu for copper. Whereas a compound is formed by two or more different types of elements which are united chemically. And the example of those are over here: oxygen, CO2, carbon dioxide, and NaCl, table salt. Some other things that we might want to remember is that matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, and a molecule is a group of two or more atoms held together by chemical bonds. So let's take a closer look at this right here, H2O. What does the subscript 2 mean? What does the 2 in H2O mean? And so the subscript in chemical formulas are the number of atoms of each element. So in this case, the 2 means that water has 2 hydrogens. So the chemical formulas are used to identify substances. So in this case, we have 2 hydrogens, that's what the 2 represents, and 1 oxygen, yielding H2O, which is the chemical formula for water. Continuing on with the science review, we're going to review what an atom is, which is the smallest particle of an element that retains the characteristics of that element. So some important things about the atom is that a neutron has no charge, a proton has a positive charge, electron has a negative charge, and water is the most common compound on Earth. And so let's take a little look at the right, where we see atoms versus molecules, where an atom is going to be the smallest particle of an element, meaning one helium here is just one helium atom. Here you have a molecule of 2 hydrogen atoms, and here's a compound of 2 different elements where it's hydrogen and oxygen. So this is the position hydrogen atoms take when they bind with oxygen atom. And so looking at this, you can see it's like an upside down Mickey Mouse. The oxygen is in one side and the hydrogens tend to pull to one side. So this position gives the H side a positive charge and the O side a negative one. So O would have a negative charge and the H would have a positive one. A difference in charge on its neutral molecule means that it is polar. All right, this is a really important fact. So what is a polar molecule? So in a water molecule, there are 2 hydrogen atoms, and they form a single polar covalent bond with an oxygen atom, which gives water more structure than other liquids. Because oxygen is more electronegative, the region around oxygen has a partial negative charge. The region near the 2 hydrogen atoms has a partial positive charge. A water molecule is a polar molecule with opposite ends of the molecule with opposite charges. So what makes water polar? So the slightly negative regions of one molecule are attracted to the slightly positive regions of nearby molecules, forming hydrogen bonds. You can see here where these 4 water molecules can bond to 4 different other ones, and you'll have the positive hydrogen side attracted to the negative oxygen side. So each water molecule can form hydrogen bonds with up to 4 neighbors. because of the attraction between these polar molecules, water has some unusual properties. So hydrogen bonds, they hold the water molecules together. Each water molecule can form a maximum of 4 hydrogen bonds, like we just learned. The hydrogen bonds joining water molecules are weak. They're about 1/20th as strong as the covalent bonds that form between the hydrogen and oxygen. They form, break, and reform with great frequency. So some of the extraordinary properties that result because of these hydrogen bonds are cohesive behavior. It resists changes in temperature. There's a high heat of vaporization. It expands when it freezes, and it is a versatile solvent. So electrons are attracted to protons within an atom. This is what keeps the atom together. Electrons are attracted to the protons of other atoms. This is what causes the atoms to bond and what holds the molecule together. So electrons can be shared unequally in a molecule, creating a polar molecule. Opposite polar ends of molecules attract and hold one molecule to another. So now let's discuss what cohesion is. So cohesion is the attraction between particles of the same substance, and that's why water is attracted to itself. So if we look at the diagram to the right, we see the red or oxygen side with the electronegative part moving over and being attracted to the positive side, or the hydrogens. And so noticing the blue regions being the positive regions and the red being the electronegative. And so what happens is this results in surface tension. And this is a measure of strength of the water's surface, and it produces a surface film on the water that allows insects to walk on the surface of the water. The water stays together because water molecules are attracted to one another. And so let's kind of look at the image of the fountains here, where the water is staying together as it's spouted out, and as it joins into the larger pool of water, it dissipates. But notice how the water remains together. We really take that for granted when we maybe turn on a hose. That's not always the case with all elements, where it's very unique to water, where it sticks together. Now we're going to discuss adhesion. So adhesion is attraction between two different substances. So before, cohesion is the attraction between water molecules to another water molecule. Now we have attraction between two different substances. In this case, one's going to be water, and the other can be another. It can be a glass that's negatively charged. It can be plant molecules like the xylem or the vascular portions of any trees. So water will make hydrogen bonds with other surfaces such as glass, soil, plant tissue, and cotton. So adhesion results in capillary action. Water molecules will tow each other along when in a thin glass tube. Some examples of this are trees removing water from the soil, a paper towel soaking up water as well. So why do you think cohesion and adhesion are important properties of water? So cohesion and adhesion are properties of water that are very important to life on Earth because they allow water to climb up plant stems and enable even the blood in our bodies to flow through our bodies. And here's this little graphic just kind of separating the two. Cohesion is going to be the attraction between water molecules, and adhesion is water's attraction to other polar or charged objects. So let's discuss some more questions. So what would happen if plants if water did not have these properties? And so the answer is no water means no photosynthesis, which means green plants couldn't exist. And so without green plants, what would happen to animals and people? And again, the answer, if there's no plants, that means no food. Even if there were other food or animals could not exist without the fluids moving through their bodies. Because of its properties, water is necessary for life on Earth. And so here we have a quick summary of all the main points we discussed today. We talked about the chemical formula and the subscript of 2, and we know that water has 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. We learned that water is polar, meaning that it has a positive and negative end, and this allows it to mix with other solutes. Water has a very high dissolving power, and it's known as a universal solvent. Hydrogen bonds form between neighboring water molecules. The positive H of one molecule sticks to the negative O of another molecule, and this forms a weak form of bonding. We learned that cohesion is the attraction of like molecules or other water molecules, and adhesion is the attraction to other molecules. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.